I'm Drew Stevenson, and this is a lecture for my administrative law class. And it's a quick introduction to the unit that we're going to do on government information, acquiring it, hiding it, and sharing it. This is where we talk about the Freedom of Information Act, agency subpoenas, investigations, and inspections, and so forth. Again, this is intended to be a very quick overview or chapter intro, but you could also use it as a recap at the end of the chapter to make sure you've hit the highlights and got the main takeaways. So here's our big takeaways from this unit. First, government agencies acquire and generate a lot of information through things like submitted reports from regulated industries, forms, filings. They also conduct investigations and they do research and conduct studies. They issue subpoenas and do inspections of premises, and they publish, of course. They publish manuals and guides um, and directive memoranda and so forth, and also keep a lot of internal records. Now, record keeping and filing requirements can be burdensome or costly for businesses, right? So you have to hire people to keep the records. It takes time or man hours that you're paying people to do it. You have people who file them. A lot of times, if they're paper records, you need storage space for archives. And over the years, these can really pile up. Also, its subpoenas and inspections can be both intrusive and costly. So you might not think of a subpoena as being costly, but if the subpoena is asking you for a whole warehouse worth of documents, that's going to take a long time to get together. And both those and inspections can be kind of invasive. And there's concerns arise that sensitive private information will become public. So you have to return a lot of information over to government agencies. Think of all the things you had to submit to the state bar for your character and fitness part of obtaining a law license, and how you wouldn't want the state bar necessarily to just publish all of that information, that private information about everywhere you've lived and worked and so forth, and all of it, your whole arrest record and so on. Now, we have a big statute in this area that was and ended up being codified within the Administrative Procedure Act. So we never call it part of the APA. We always just call it FOIA. And the Open Meetings Act. So the Freedom of Information Act and the Open Meetings requirements. We have a couple different statutes actually that require open meetings, the Government and the Sunshine Act, the Federal Advisory Committee Act, or FACA, and that are supposed to foster more government transparency. Again, there's concerns about shadow government or lack of democracy when people don't know what's going on or how decisions are made. You'll hear people, the current phrase when I'm recording this is deep state, that there's these people in the government who really make the decisions regardless of what the rest of us want, and so on. Also, keep in mind that individuals, entities, and corporations can submit FOIA requests to obtain government information. And for some in the regulated industry, this can actually be used as a pre-litigation discovery tool. Another main takeaway, the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA requests, can in turn be intrusive and burdensome or costly for government agencies. I was a government lawyer before I became a professor, and a FOIA request could mean pulling a few lawyers in our department off of their cases and sticking them in a file room for weeks or months at a time to sort through documents, find the ones that fit with the request, and redact them, take out names and so forth. It's very time consuming and labor intensive. And some agencies, a lot of agencies, are willing to litigate rather than comply with requests. And also they can be intrusive. It could be that the agency actually doesn't want to disclose the information. Almost all the litigation in this area is about whether one of the FOIA exemptions apply to prevent disclosure. So for my students, the big thing you need to take away from this unit is you need to know the 9 FOIA exemptions kind of cold, right? That's the biggest thing to learn from this unit. Not really, to be honest, the case law in this area. There's a few rules and principles you should know about. about subpoenas and so forth, and I'm going to give you in other video lectures, but you really need to invest some time studying those 9 FOIA exemptions. Invest your study time for this unit mostly on the 9 FOIA exemptions themselves. If you're in my class on my final exam, this is an area where I actually ask gotcha questions, where I expect you to know the 9 exemptions practically verbatim, and I have multiple choice questions about them. The cases in your book, to be honest, in administrative law case books, are mostly for just illustrating the exemptions and the way they're applied. And so the exemptions themselves are probably more important to know, honestly, than even the Supreme Court cases in this area. And most casebooks also discuss a few old cases about subpoena powers and inspection powers. That concludes my quick chapter intro or recap, if you've already been through the chapter, about government information, acquiring information, and disclosing it through FOIA requests.